Dubai is quietly becoming the world's biggest crypto hub, and if you're not paying attention, you're already behind. The laws are changing, AI is taking over legal work, and Europe? If you're holding Bitcoin, investing in crypto, or even thinking about financial freedom, this video is certainly for you. Irina Heaver, who is the first Bitcoin crypto lawyer established in Dubai, UAE ever since 2016. She has represented some of the industry's most prominent companies and groundbreaking projects. I find her insight rather interesting, and hence why I just pull it all together in today's episode. One of the key aspects that she's mentioned, and I have actually explained this in some of my earlier videos in my channel, which is all the more reason why you should subscribe to it, is the actual narrative between AI and Bitcoin particularly. She gave an interesting use case of the law firms at large that are currently in a state of revolution where they're using AI agents to streamline the actual research work, particularly within the legal space, and actually providing the prompt information that they gather from these AI agents to make their lives simpler and value of services, legal services to their clients much more efficient and much more high value add, because it's not the same relying humans to do the bulk of the research work if you can actually hand that off intelligently through these AI agents. And then you use the actual lawyer to do the actual supervision and oversight over what's been prompted back from these AI agents. I find this really interesting. And this is just one out of many use cases that we are seeing as part of this AI revolution or AI wave we are currently immersed in. And how would this actually play out in terms of Bitcoin? Because there is this narrative linkages between AI and Bitcoin, where you can use the AI agents to tap into the Bitcoin blockchain network to manage payments. She went on to explain why she thinks that Dubai is the crypto capital of the world. Well, it certainly is crypto friendly in that the taxation system is much more favorable if you compare it with the Western world, which isn't. So you have certainly 0% income tax for individuals, and there's obviously some corporation tax, but it's minimal if you compare it with the rest of the Western countries, which is tax heavy. So that is clearly one of the many advantages that it offers. It's much more favorable taxation regime that it has if you compare it with the rest of the Western world. In addition to that, Dubai gives me the impression, based on her insights, that is forward-looking, that is pro-business, is trying to do everything that it can to draw in capital into the country, and as a result is growingly recognized as this crypto hub. Of course, you need to obviously abide by the laws of every jurisdiction, of every country, wherever you go. And what you can't do is ever fall foul of the law. This is given, that is something that is expected from every one of us when we move into a brand new country. Well, the UAE is certainly no different. If you do that, you have the right connections with the right individuals, enterprises, and if you're a crypto entrepreneur, Bitcoin enthusiast that wants to set up its business or just live in the country, it also has, the regulator in the region has just recently approved a stable backed dirham, which is like their local fiat currency. So this is on par with what Tether is doing with the US peg dollar, right, in stablecoins space. So in terms of setting up bank accounts, there are digital bank accounts already established in the country and operating the country legally, and it's very fast setup. It only takes, according to her experience, a matter of 15 minutes to open a bank account, provided of course you have all the documentation in order. I mean, that is just kind of a brief summary as to why she honestly think that Dubai and the UAE at large is certainly growing to be that crypto hub in the region and in the world at large. Right. So let's move on to the next point, another interesting point, where she mentioned that there is this perception that she has, given that she's been living in the country for many years, that Dubai is certainly the safe haven for Bitcoin entrepreneurs. If you want to be at the cutting edge, she insists that Dubai, is the perfect choice for you. That regulators in the region are growingly understanding and accepting crypto and AI, which is kind of different with, if you compare with the US and the rest of the Western nations in Europe and so on, who are anti-crypto and don't really value AI and crypto as strategic growth industries. in those regions. I think now, given that President Trump has just came back in office, trying to do everything he can to issue executive orders to kind of expedite the capital inflows into the country, which we're beginning to see as we speak. But he's still got an awful lot of catch up, and he's trying to put things right, sowing the seeds very early on in his administration so that he has time to put that into action. But I feel that, given that US is such a huge country, it has a lot of obstacles that he still needs to overcome. But with UAE, they have that additional advantage to actually expedite these capital inflows into those regions, and UAE and Dubai is really indeed taking the lead as the AI and crypto hub in the region. She also mentioned that venture capital, VC funding, is strong, and it's being used to help precisely those crypto and Bitcoin entrepreneurs that are coming into the country, because then they're going to be needing seed capital in order to support their businesses. So clearly the government in the region is doing all the right things that they need to do in order to draw in that capital, draw in those entrepreneurs, the actual intellectual capacity to innovate and capital to invest, as well as the regulatory regime to accompany and protect those individuals, those innovative enterprises in the region. This is what I expect a responsible government to do, to protect this strategic growth industry, which is crypto, Bitcoin and AI. And she says, just to round off this last point, that life is customizable, right? So you have this fast-paced feeling in Dubai, as well as this slow life in other cities in the region. She made a reference to Abu Dhabi. So it's a place for everyone. So that's really inspiring and comforting. I also want to touch on the point of the snippet that she mentioned about she's German. She was asked about her impressions on Europe. And I actually share the sentiment that she mentioned, where she feels that Europe is in a lost continent, right? It's more treated as a tourist museum rather than that innovative technical hub, which is what us Europeans were always hoping for. But, we have to be frankly honest to ourselves. This is not the case at the moment. And it hasn't been the case for a long, long time. And what's the perception in the coming years? Might that change? Who knows? But I can tell you for now, it's not looking great. It's overly regulated, it's overly bureaucratic. Just look at the European Union, how they are at the moment. It just says it all. There's lack of innovation, unfortunately, and there are failing economies. So this comparison between the blueprint of what UAE is doing as being that forward-looking, technologically focused country, putting all the right things in place versus Europe, well, you can clearly see where those entrepreneurs, which of the two they're going to be choosing. They're going to be choosing Dubai, they're going to be choosing UAE, and certainly not Europe, which is unfortunate. But who knows, maybe that will change in the months and years to come. She made an interesting reference, which I liked quite a lot, which is the notion of Bitcoin as that ultimate piggy bank, savings account. It's like Bitcoin is winning the lottery, but in slow motion. I can appreciate why she said that, and I have to wholeheartedly agree with that. It is a long-term game, and it's not a casino bet. I have explained this notion, or something similar to this, in my earlier videos, that Bitcoin is to be treated as that long-term store of value and not as a casino lottery ticket. No, this is not how a responsible store of value asset such as Bitcoin is to be treated. It's a long-term thing. I've always advocated a minimum of 10 years, and then you always have the chance to revisit your situation by then, right? Plan B for your wealth, of course, you need to keep cash in your bank accounts, but as a losing strategy, not as a store of wealth generator for that. And that's all I have to say pretty much in today's episode, really. I think it's very insightful. So hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. If you have, please don't forget to hit the like button, to share the video to your friends and colleagues at work. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, as I regularly publish interesting videos such as these, anything to do with Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and the future of finance. So I'll see you next time.